Context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler. The piece.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Everyone who hates when I win. The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Simply just a terrible film that nobody wanted from the beginning. Don't worry.
Evie Magazine wrote on X, when you compare how Rachel Zegler spoke about Snow White to how other actresses who played live-action Disney princesses spoke about their character, really underlines just how poorly she carried herself.
Remember the first time you watched Snow White? The innocence, the wonder, and the promise that good triumphs over evil. Now imagine that cherished memory stripped down and reshaped into a narrative that feels less like a fairy tale and more like a corporate battleground, where every word is weighed by boardroom strategists. Picture a beloved classic not only remade but repackaged with a barrage of modern moral lessons that seem to disregard the magic of the original, leaving longtime fans bewildered and disenchanted. In an era when studios chase fleeting trends rather than timeless storytelling, the new Snow White remake stands as a cautionary example of what happens when commerce overrules art. The fallout from this project has been seismic, echoing through the halls of Disney and reaching far beyond, into discussions about legacy, creativity, and the very soul of classic cinema. Behind the glitz and glamour, there are whispered accounts of internal chaos, heated legal confrontations, and a star caught in the crossfire of a battle that pits artistic integrity against corporate policy.
Why box office metrics are still not working in Disney's favor and showing no sign of a resolution in sight. We already know that those out there like Disney CEO Bob Iger, the many executives over there, the board of directors, they are all in panic mode over this movie, not performing well, but also to the fact that we have a lot of Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler drama still going on both behind closed doors and in the public eye.
As we peel back the layers of this unfolding drama, prepare to encounter revelations about rushed decisions, high-stakes legal meetings, and the painful consequences of straying too far from a formula that once captured hearts worldwide. If you believe in preserving the timeless nature of our cultural heritage rather than succumbing to the ephemeral demands of the moment, then join us on this in-depth journey through one of Hollywood's most controversial remakes. And if you agree that the classics deserve our respect, please subscribe and ring the bell. Your support keeps the conversation honest and the tradition alive. The controversy began with Jonah Platt, son of renowned producer Mark Platt, whose personal involvement in the production of the latest Snow White film has made his harsh words carry extra weight. Jonah's public criticism of lead actress Rachel Zegler was a shock to many, especially coming from someone so closely tied to the inner workings of the film. His remarks, delivered with unfiltered candor, pointed to a deep dissatisfaction with the film's direction and with Zegler's own public comments, which he argued betrayed the essence of what Snow White once stood for. The situation escalated rapidly, drawing attention from major industry publications like Variety and Evie Magazine, both of which detailed a behind-the-scenes frenzy marked by heightened security measures and urgent legal meetings. Critics, industry insiders, and even everyday fans have since been embroiled in heated debates over where the blame truly lies, at the feet of a single actress or within the very corridors of Disney's hallowed halls. As the story unfolded, it became clear that the remake was not just suffering from poor marketing or unfavorable reviews. It was a veritable train wreck of mismanagement, misguided creative choices, and a failure to honor the legacy of its source material. Rachel Zegler, whose star was once rising as a beacon of youthful promise in Hollywood, found herself in the middle of a maelstrom of public outrage. Her interviews, filled with biting remarks and politically charged statements, diverged sharply from the measured tones of past Disney princesses. Critics noted that her offhand dismissal of the original Snow White's charm and her incendiary comments about Prince Charming's character only compounded the film's woes. Every public appearance, every tweet, seemed to fan the flames of a controversy that quickly escalated beyond simple bad press into a full-scale battle over the identity of a cultural icon. Behind the polished veneer of the new Snow White lies an economic nightmare. With production budgets soaring into the hundreds of millions and global marketing campaigns designed to capture a new generation of viewers, Disney found itself facing a box office performance that was nothing short of disastrous. Early estimates placed the film's budget in the region of $250 to $270 million, but when combined with the additional costs of a multi-million-dollar promotional blitz, the stakes were astronomical. Opening weekend numbers revealed a domestic take of only $43 million, with global figures barely scraping together $84 million. These disappointing returns prompted a rapid-fire response from shareholders and market analysts alike, who began to question the wisdom of modernizing a timeless classic at the expense of its heart and soul. The economic repercussions extended far beyond the box office. They threatened to undermine the very trust that Disney has built over nearly a century. Amid the financial debacle, the internal atmosphere at Disney was anything but serene. Rumors swirled about emergency meetings held at the highest levels of the company, a desperate attempt to mitigate a crisis that was quickly spiraling out of control. The catalyst for these frantic sessions was a seemingly innocuous tweet from Rachel Zegler, in which she mixed a promotional message with a politically charged statement proclaiming Free Palestine. This melding of movie marketing with controversial political commentary sent shockwaves through the studio's upper echelons. Disney's legal team was summoned in haste, and Zegler, bolstered by her own retinue of high-powered attorneys, was pulled into a meeting that would set the stage for what many now foresee as an impending legal showdown. The stakes could not be higher, with contractual obligations, brand integrity, and the reputation of a global entertainment titan on the line. Every word exchanged in those meetings was scrutinized for potential breaches and missteps. In the midst of this legal quagmire, the broader cultural implications of the Snow White remake became impossible to ignore. For decades, the story of Snow White had been a bastion of optimism, a reminder that beauty, kindness, and resilience could triumph over adversity. The remake's modern spin, which sought to update gender roles and infuse the narrative with a progressive agenda, was seen by many as an attempt to rewrite history in a way that sacrificed the timeless elements that made the originals so cherished. Traditionalists decried the changes as a betrayal, arguing that the new version was less about honoring a storied past and more about chasing contemporary trends. In this context, every comment made by the film's cast, especially those delivered with the brash confidence of youth, became a lightning rod for controversy. What was meant to be a celebration of evolution turned into a public relations fiasco that alienated a loyal audience base, leaving Disney to grapple with the fallout. The unfolding drama took an even darker turn as internal communications began to surface. Leaked emails and confidential memos revealed that the studio's own marketing team had been directed to promote the film's modern feminist perspective as a counter. Implications are staggering. Rather than being a rogue element, Rachel Zegler may have been acting in accordance with a corporate mandate, only to be scapegoated when the strategy backfired catastrophically. The financial pressures and internal conflicts were compounded by a relentless public backlash that reverberated across social media and traditional news outlets alike. Fans who had grown up with the original Snow White now found themselves defending a story that had been so radically altered from the one they loved. The social media landscape, once a space for sharing nostalgic memories and animated discussions, transformed overnight into a battleground of memes, heated debates, and calls for accountability. Every comment and tweet from Zegler was dissected and amplified by critics who saw her as emblematic of a broader trend, a trend where progressive ideology was allowed to override the simple, unadulterated magic of storytelling. The cultural clash was evident in the fervent responses from both sides, those who demanded that Disney return to its roots and those who argued that evolution was inevitable, even if painful. Within the echo chambers of social media, the drama only intensified. Insiders reported that discussions about the film quickly evolved from casual discontent to full-scale outrage. Longtime fans of Disney began sharing stories of how the original Snow White had shaped their childhoods, a stark contrast to the modern version, which they felt was a hollow, politicized shell of its former self. In online forums, heated debates raged about the proper role of politics in entertainment, with some arguing that every work of art is a product of its time and others insisting that certain classics should remain untouched by the tumult of modern ideology. This polarized debate not only highlighted the deep generational divides but also served as a stark reminder of the risks involved when a storied legacy is tampered with in the pursuit of trendiness. Even as the public clamor grew louder, the ramifications within Disney's corporate structure became more pronounced. Behind the scenes, employees who had once been proud to work for a company synonymous with family values and timeless entertainment now found themselves embroiled in internal power struggles. Veteran Imagineers and creative executives, many of whom had spent decades nurturing the legacy of Disney, expressed deep concerns over the studio's willingness to gamble with its brand for the sake of being modern. The tension between adhering to the original vision and embracing a progressive reimagining had created an atmosphere of disillusionment among staff members, with some even contemplating leaving the company. The internal morale was reportedly at an all-time low, and this disquiet was beginning to seep into every aspect of the company's operations, from creative decisions to strategic planning. As the legal battles loomed on the horizon, the implications for Disney's future became a topic of heated discussion among industry analysts and shareholders. In a series of tense investor calls, questions were raised about the wisdom of approving a remake that not only diverged between good and evil. On the other side are the modernizers, who argue that the world has changed and that clinging to outdated tropes is a recipe for irrelevance. The resulting tension has not only led to a disjointed creative process, but has also sown seeds of distrust among employees and executives alike. Every decision, every directive, now carries the burden of reconciling these two conflicting philosophies, a burden that appears to have pushed the company to the brink of internal collapse. In the midst of all this chaos, the public remains an active and vocal participant in the drama. Social media platforms have become the new battleground for debates over art, politics, and corporate responsibility. Every leaked document, every offhand comment, is dissected by an audience that is both passionate and unforgiving. Longtime fans of the original Snow White have taken to online forums and comment sections to express their dismay, recalling fond memories of a simpler time when fairy tales were meant to inspire rather than divide. These voices, steeped in nostalgia and a longing for a bygone era of unadulterated storytelling, have rallied together to demand accountability from a company that once symbolized the pinnacle of family entertainment. Their message is clear. If Disney cannot honor the legacy of its classics, then perhaps it has lost touch with the very audience that made it a household name. As the legal battles and corporate infighting continue to unfold, industry analysts are left to ponder the long-term consequences of this debacle. The Snow White remake is more than just a box office failure. It is a case study in the perils of modernizing a timeless narrative without fully understanding the inherent risks. The financial losses alone, which have already reached into the hundreds of millions, are a sobering reminder that even the mightiest entertainment empire is not immune to the consequences of a miscalculated risk. Yet, beyond the immediate financial fallout, there is a deeper, more troubling issue at hand: the erosion of trust. For decades, Disney has been seen as a guardian of cherished stories, a company that delivered magic and wonder to audiences around the globe. Now, that trust is in jeopardy and the question looms large. Can Disney rebuild its reputation once the dust settles, or has it irrevocably severed the connection with the very people who once believed in its promise? In the aftermath of these revelations, many within the industry are calling for a return to basics, a recommitment to the art of storytelling that values substance over sensationalism. They argue that while change is inevitable, it should never come at the cost of the core values that have defined these classic tales for generations. The Snow White fiasco, with all its legal battles, public outcries, and internal divisions, serves as a stark reminder of what happens when a company loses sight of its foundational principles. It is a wake-up call not only to Disney but to all of Hollywood. In the relentless pursuit of modern relevance, there is a very real danger of losing the timeless magic that has long been the cornerstone of great storytelling. For many, this crisis is not merely a fleeting episode of celebrity drama or corporate miscalculation. It is emblematic of a broader cultural shift, one that challenges the very nature of the narratives we hold dear. It forces us to ask whether the progressive reinterpretation of beloved classics is a necessary evolution or a misguided attempt that undermines the inherent value of these stories. The answer, as it turns out, is far more complex than a simple binary choice. It is a debate that touches on every aspect of our cultural identity, from the way we tell our stories to the way we define our values. In a world where every word is scrutinized and every decision is met with both praise and criticism, the stakes have never been higher. Even as the storm rages on, there remains a glimmer of hope that the magic of the original may yet be restored. Some voices within Disney and among its loyal fans are advocating for a course correction, a return to the principles that once made the company a beacon of wholesome entertainment. They argue that it is possible to innovate without alienating, to modernize while still honoring the past. Such a delicate balancing act is no small feat, but if Disney can navigate these turbulent waters, there is still a chance for redemption. It will require a willingness to listen, to acknowledge past missteps, and to commit to a vision that unites rather than divides. Only time will tell if the company can mend the fractures that now threaten its legacy. In the final analysis, the unfolding drama around Disney's Snow White remake is a microcosm of a larger struggle, a struggle between the timeless and the transient, between tradition and innovation, between the unchanging values of the past and the ever-shifting landscape of modern culture. At its heart, this is a story about the costs of abandoning what made these tales resonate in the first place. It is a cautionary tale that reminds us that when cherished narratives are twisted to fit the moment, the consequences can be both profound and far-reaching. The fallout is not confined to the boardrooms of a multinational corporation. It echoes in the hearts and minds of millions who once believed in the magic of a simple story well told. If you're tired of seeing our beloved classics sacrificed on the altar of fleeting trends and political expediency, and if you believe that our cultural heritage deserves to be preserved with dignity and respect, then now is the time to stand up. Join us by subscribing, liking, and sharing this video so that together we can hold those in power accountable for steering our cherished stories off course. Let your voice be heard in the comments below. Share your thoughts on whether Disney can ever recapture the magic of its golden age, or if it has irreparably lost its way. We'll be here, ready to keep the conversation going as we watch this drama unfold and remind the world that true storytelling is timeless.